Dear listeners of the Female Guides Requested podcast, happy Wednesday. I'm your host Ting Ting from Las Vegas, and today's guest is Megan Yingling from Colorado. Meg came on my radar when I accidentally saw her post on Facebook. In that post, she described her experience with grieving, mental health, and climbing. She mentioned that she was becoming a psychotherapist and wanted to help people who suffer similar trauma like she did before. At that moment, I also recalled just seeing her name on the new SPI provider list from an AMGA email. Bing! I wanted her on the show. So here she is. Meg is a pre-licensed psychotherapist, AMGA certified rock guide, and SPI provider based out of Estes Park, Colorado. Throughout her 2 decades in the sport, Meg has learned that climbing and guiding can provide the highest highs, but does not come without its challenges and barriers. Meg has dedicated her career to navigating the intersection between mental health and climbing and has a deep passion in helping others achieve their goals. Meg loves climbing, running, and playful exploring in her home range of Rocky Mountain National Park. It was a fun conversation and I learned a lot. Meg shared experiences that many of us can relate to and provided great insights on dealing with fear and grief. Hope you enjoyed this conversation just like I did. Hi, Megan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell me how you pronounce your last name.
Yingling.
I was thinking whether there's a Asian influence. Yes.
Uh, no Asian influence.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually German.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like J turns into Y, and I don't know if you know the beer Yingling on the western or eastern coast.
Oh,
I,
so originally it might be spelled as Y,
yeah,
J.
Jue. So umlaut U turned into UE, which turned into I. Yeah. I went to a boarding school in Switzerland that was two-thirds Korean, and I showed up the first day, and they were very surprised I was not Asian. They were like, You're not. You're not." So yeah, it's a common mistake.
I see. Yeah, because I was like, I was psyched because I'm Asian. So I was like,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
sorry, I'm white.
and, and I zoom in your photo. I said, doesn't, I'm trying to see whether you are quarter Asian or 1/8 of Asian.
No, no. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. So where are you at right now? And who do you work for and what do you usually do?
Yeah. So I live in Estes Park, Estes Park, Colorado. I've lived here since 2019, um, working as a guide. So I kind of started with a lot of different companies, um, was on the road and trying to like come into the Colorado scene through a couple different companies, but worked for Colorado Mountain School for 3 years, couple years, three, yes. And then just switched over to KMAC Guides this actually past year. So it's a very small local company here in Estes Park. Yeah, and I love them, and I love working here. So I get to work in Rocky Mountain National Park mostly. Um, so yeah, getting to take people on their first alpine climbs, like the Petit Crepin or Zowie, or even stuff on Long's Peak. I get to go play around on, and then a lot of like local stuff. So we have Lumpy Ridge, which is a part of Rocky, but more 3 to 5 pitch granite domes that are super fun to play on. But yeah, rock guiding.
Rock guiding. Yeah, so you are AMG certified rock guide, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, for whatever reason, I also, like you, I have this travel time to live in my vehicle.
Mhm.
So I start coming East Coast and I travel a lot in West Coast. And for whatever reason, I never climb a lot in Colorado.
Yeah. My parents moved to Colorado, so I spent my last 2 years of school or high school in Colorado, and then I went to college in Western Colorado University. And so I think I have roots here. And I had never really made it out to like Washington. Like I've never been to Washington at all. Like I really want to go out that way. As much time I spent in the van, I spent a lot of time in like Utah and Wyoming. And
I
yeah,
see. Yeah, I
yeah.
spent a lot of time in Utah and Wyoming, but somehow I'm a little bit afraid of going like to like Colorado.
Well, and that's what I've heard is people think it's Chaucy and there's poison ivy everywhere. I've heard that from a couple like Washington guides. They're like, oh, I don't know. Is that kind of has people said that?
Um,
Or,
yeah, one is that,
right.
and another thing that people told me that the rock season in Colorado is kind of short.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
I mean Utah and in the desert we have very long rock climbing season,
yeah.
and I really like the Wind River Range from alpine climbing. So I always go there because there's not a lot of people. So I guess people just told me that comparatively, Colorado Rock has less a shorter season and a lot of more crowd.
And I like totally get that perspective. And also, you just got to go deep enough. Like, I just was doing some developing, like a first ascent on the western side of Rocky Mountain National Park. So the Continental Divide splits the park into two parts. And everyone was looking at the story and thinking that I was in the Wind River Range. And I'm like, I'm in, the most popular park in the States. And you just got to go a little bit further back. Like you got to go to a little bit more remote areas. But there's such incredible climbing that's not crowded at all. And
Nice.
yeah, I don't know. So that's my spiel on that is like, you just got to go a little bit deeper.
All right. Now you made me intrigued. So next time if I head that way, let me contact you. You gotta give me some
Yeah,
good
yeah.
data.
I know they're good. Yeah, like it's taken, yeah, just getting to know the park and there's so many areas. Like yesterday, I guided a 50 classic and there's not a single person on the route. Um,
Wow.
and that you just have to play your cards right. You have to just know the times. I don't
I
know.
know. I
It's
mean,
good.
it has to be really hard because I got in Red Rise. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it just because of crowds or?
So in September, so far it's okay, but then once you get to mid October, I really have to think hard. And then a lot of people come here, they want to climb the classics. I was like, well, do you want less crowd? But then in my mind, it's classic, but maybe in other people's mind, not classic. But
Right.
all those things,
Of
yeah.
classics. Yeah.
And so, how did you get into guiding?
Okay. Um, so I've been climbing since I was young. I started as a
You still
um
look very young. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I am. I mean, I'm 27, so but I started climbing when I was, gosh, I think in fifth grade. So there's a climbing school or gym across from my middle school.
Gee, I envy
Um,
you. Yeah.
I know. Well, it's funny because, I climbed my whole childhood and I'm not really, I think it's changed for me, like my relationship with climbing. Like I was in the competitive scene for like 8 until 18. And I didn't do very well and it was very stressful. And then I found outdoor climbing and then I immediately was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going back. So I don't feel like I have like that, gym strength from my
I
childhood.
mean, comp is hard. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
I watch a lot of comp. They have to perform like at that, switch has turned on.
totally. I did not do well under that pressure. Yeah, I went to like a couple of national competitions and I was just a wreck. But I went with my friends and I like traveling and I loved climbing. So, yeah. And then I went to school at Western Colorado University, which has a really big outdoor education program. So, yeah, there was a big kind of guiding culture,
Oh, okay.
looked up the guides and it was kind of the cool thing to do.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, kind of like a different, yeah, I mean, that was the thing to do is to become a guide. I remember taking my first woofer certification in college, and there were guides a part of the woofer, and they would like talk about their experiences as a guide, and it just, there's like felt like a hush hush, like so much respect for guides and in that community. So
Interesting. Uh,
yeah,
I would love to learn a little bit about that. I'm not saying I have no respect about guys, obviously I do, but uh, I I just heard so much about the other side of stories. People just like, oh, guys don't get paid that much. It's hard physical work, and then doesn't seem like in the States has got enough respect like people in Europe say.
Totally. Yeah. And I see that perspective now. And maybe it was just my, young eyes being like seeing them as these rock stars. I thought they were rock stars, guys. So I don't know if that was just me, but it felt like, there was just air to them that was really cool. So, um,
Interesting, yeah.
yeah.
So you were at that time that kind of plant a seed that you also want to be one of this cool member of this cool community.
Yeah, I had interest in it. But I didn't really think it was for me. So I was like a competitive climber for my whole childhood and then kind of played with like outdoor sport climbing until I went to school and there's no sport climbing, it's all trad. So like in the main area near that area is the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. That's
Yeah,
kind of like
Black Kenya has its reputation.
yeah, totally. Yeah. And the climbing around Lake Gunnison is kind of similar to Black. Like, our crag is Taylor Canyon, which is just like the Black Canyon, but 2 to 3 pitches long, but still in that like kind of, grungy style that's really fun and hard. So I was starting to learn how to trad climb, in Taylor Canyon. And then I even like my first multi pitches were in the Black Canyon. Lots of firsts in the Black, like, like I pulled my first piece of gear, like whipped and all these like whipped on the Vector Traverse, which is this like notorious 5'9" traverse. I like completely came off it and took this insane ride when I was at my first multi pitch and all these like very formative experiences. And yeah, I just was told that I was not very good with ropes. I don't know if you've ever had that, people are like, you're a little out there. Cause I was strong, I was climbing inside pretty strong, but had no experience outdoors. And I was so excited for like outdoor climbing. Like the adventure style of climbing was I just like could not get enough of it. And probably like, yeah, my first 5, 10 trad leads were not, you know, uh, should have had more instruction for sure.
But
Yeah.
I've seen that you come a long way. I mean, you are certified, so you must have to get those rope skill dialed.
Yeah, and that's something that like is inspiring to me is that I just had this adopted narrative that I was just not good with ropes. I'm not a ropes person. I can I can climb, I guess, but maybe I can't like place gear very well and multi-pitch systems are really hard for me to understand. And then I just wanted to like I just put in a lot of work, like it just takes a lot of work and experience and you just got to go out and learn the skills and bug mentors to keep going out with you and then it's a learned skill, like the fact no one starts off as a rope person, I don't know if you agree, but yeah.
Just now you say bug your mentors. So I kind of assume that since you are from that environment, probably not very hard for you to find mentors, maybe?
It was yeah, gosh, I've had a couple good mentors, all men,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Not really, I've never had like a female ANGA instructor or yeah, any mentors, which I'm excited to, maybe do that more now, be a mentor for others. Um, yeah, but I had a couple, like Gunnison has kind of like the blue collar climbers, like old crusty guys that, I just bugged enough to let me go on their Black Canyon trip with them. Like, like they have their partner. I'm like, oh, you need a third. You need a third person on this
And
trip. I
how do you convince them that they need a third?
yeah,
Usually, right? People don't like to take a third because it probably would slow down.
totally. Yeah. And somehow they agree. They're like, I guess you can become like just grouchily, yeah, climbed with a lot of like older guys that just allowed me to be there.
I
And
guess
yeah,
I would say yes too because you just you talk in this way very sad. I think older people like to take on like sad younger
yeah,
mentees. Yeah, so just bug them.
yeah, yeah. It definitely, I don't know if I could do it now. Like the social cues were there where they're like, we don't really want you to come. We're good. But then me being like, you definitely need a third person. I'm gonna be there for you. So yeah, I'm glad I did that. But
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like the energy though. Probably like when you just started, and I can I can remember when I just started, I was more like that. I said, I don't care, I'm going.
totally, it's
Yeah,
harder to do now for some reason. Like inserting yourselves to for learning opportunities. I don't know.
yeah, but maybe maybe we should still try, huh?
Yeah, totally. Be
Yeah.
bold. Yeah,
Yeah, and then especially I found that now I work a lot of time independently, and so nice to even just work with other guys. It's like not saying that I learned new technical skills, but I learned so much different perspective working with other people.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How come at the very beginning you mentioned that you think maybe guiding is not for you, but obviously you are guiding right now? What's the transition of the mindset?
I don't, what was it? I mean, I honestly, I don't know if this is, I kind of did it. So I was dating a guy at the time and we were living together. And I remember he would always be doing like the rock rescue drill in in our living room on like the brick tiles. Like he was so psyched on being a guide. And we would travel together and we went to all these amazing places. And um, we broke up and I signed up for my rock guide course like a month after. And it was kind of like slightly spiteful, like that might be, that's terrible to say, but it was like, we would just, how you can attach yourselves to a person, like you can say, this is your thing and it's now our thing. And I wanted it to be my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And one way to do that was taking my rock guide course. And I was working in outdoor education a lot. So I was like an adjunct professor for my alma mater, Western Colorado University, and like doing backpacking trips. And I was a wilderness therapy guide for multiple years. I had my SBI at that time as well. Now that I'm thinking about it. So yeah, but the full dive into rock guiding happened later when I just was like, this is something I want to do for me. I don't
I
know if
can
that makes
understand though
sense.
because I used to be a nose
Yeah.
instructor, so I did a lot of outdoor education before I was
Yeah.
a ANGA certified guide. And now originally I didn't even plan to be a guide. I just want to take that because I did a lot of big trip with my husband now, but at that time boyfriend, and I wasn't sure that whether I could pull it off on my own. So I decided if I'm a guide, then nobody's gonna question that I can pull a trip expedition on my own. So, and then I just stopped guiding after I, well, I, I taught, but I stopped guiding a lot after I became a certified guide. Yes. So,
Very cool.
so I can
Yeah.
understand you. Just like, you know, it's nice to go out with them, but then you need to have this for your own.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted the education and the experience to like back that I can do this on my own. And that was me signing up for my rock guide course.
Definitely.
I can
Yeah.
do this. Yeah.
Nice.
And it rocked me. I don't know. It rocked me. Oh my gosh. Oh,
So
yeah.
so so what does it even mean? Like rocky, like means the experience was.
I just had no clue. Like, yeah, I remember it was in Eldo, so here in Boulder. And I wasn't living in Boulder at the time, so Eldo was completely new to me. I never I wore really soft shoes at the time, and
That was a mistake I made the first time. I was like, it was so hard. Soft
in
shoes. Yeah.
Eldo, yeah, glassy rock, like that's totally a thing to get used to. And like if you don't have, it's not like if you have the right shoes, but there's specific
Mm.
footwork there, and yeah, you're used to something different. Like I was used to like the black, which yeah, oh my gosh, I remember like getting on a climb called Touch and Go on like my first rock guide. Like how you have a couple days of instruction and then you have like a day where you're on the hot seat. I whipped like 3 times on the first hot seat. My feet looked like rollerblades on this rock. Oh, it was terrible. And yeah, they told me like you really gotta get it together. Like you have to climb a 5'9" to be able to. So you did this course. I remember being so nervous about that. And I was called a recreational climber a lot. They were like, oh, this is good for recreational climbing. And I had no idea what that meant. I was like, I don't know what you mean. I'm climbing, which I now have a better understanding of course. But yeah, all those things. I was told that after, like, during my debrief, that I should take 3 years before taking my next course.
Whoa.
I
Seriously?
know. Yeah. 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 And I look back and I'm like, I accept that feedback and know that I was in a different time. But it did give me the fire to be like, I'm going to be certified in 3 years. Just do it. So did that. That's
Yes.
good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know, 3 years. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can certainly grow. I mean, everybody has like a lot of potential to grow. I mean, I see a lot of first time whatever it's like shit show, but then it doesn't take that long if people are really into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if depends on what you do with those 3 years, right?
Exactly.
Like I went so deep into it and was traveling, went to Red Rocks all the time to, get ready for next courses and yeah, took it seriously.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
also remember my first elder days. It didn't go pretty.
Oh, dude, do you remember?
I mean, yeah, I wore these shoes, and then for whatever reason, just like didn't work, and I got so nervous, and then I just like, come on, like Ting Ting, you can climb harder than this, but then I was just having issues. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That sounds like a good Eldo experience. Like I can do this, right? Like why can't I do this? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I enjoy your experience because um, it's kind of funny to me. Technical skill actually came easy for me because I went to engineering school, so pretty analytical. But climbing actually came really hard for me because I wasn't very good at sports. So it's kind of nice to see a little, you start with a very strong climber and then have to like try really hard on your technical skills. Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny how those things are always like now I would say the complete opposite. Like my technical skills are way stronger than my climbing skills. Because I spent so much time on the technical
I
part,
mean, I
right?
would
Like
say
just
that maybe you are like good in all aspects. That's just not say better on the other. I think you are, yeah,
that, yeah, but it is something that I think about a lot in my guiding is balancing both, right? Like you can see a lot of climbers that are getting really into the technical skills and maybe not developing the climbing skills. Like you have to kind of keep upping both.
yeah. Otherwise, you are
Um,
just a recreational climber.
I know you don't want to be that, I guess. I don't know. I was okay with it.
Yeah, cool. And so this one paragraph you put it out there caught my eyes. You were talking about climbing and mental health. Yeah. I don't know whether you remember. I remember I saw that you was talking about the climbing and mental health. That is very important for you, and then you got this grant to help you yourself to. Actually, I don't know the detail. I just saw all this paragraph, and it piqued my interest. So I would love that you talk a little bit about it to tell us some stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always had an interest in mental health. I've had my own mental health struggles growing up. I've seen a counselor since I could remember. Um, and then I went to school also, so I got a double degree in outdoor education and psychology. So it's always been in mine. And I've always, fear, like I've always had a relationship with fear and climbing, and always had to navigate that. And it's felt like a big barrier in my climbing that I've always had to like, yeah, just like navigate, like
So you mean like
it's
big
like,
barrier because climbing and fear is a very common, right?
yeah,
So right, we always talk about fear of falling, fear of not being able to perform, fear of I don't know a lot. But do you think that you have a higher level of fear? Okay,
no, I don't think
right.
so. Yeah, no, but it always like, it just was it fear of not performing or fear of not being good enough like came hand in hand with the fear, right? Like I'm more afraid, all these other usually guys are not as afraid as I am, and that would, make it more tense, right? Like I would push myself into, harder situations that my nervous system was like not ready for. Um, so yeah, that was always something I was just trying to like I don't know, dance with. That's the analogy that comes in mind is it's just a dance. It's always going to be there, and you just have to like find ways that feels good to you. And so that's just a little background. And then yeah, I lost two friends in climbing accidents, and I think that's what sparked it. So I was traveling around in my van a lot, and then came up to Estes uh, for a backpacking trip, and met a woman named Callie, and Callie and I like immediately hit it off, and we like got in a van together, and we traveled west and went to Red Rocks, and she was also a guide and really excited for me. I remember she would always just be like, whatever you need to get ready for your advanced rock guide, like I'm here for it, whatever you need. And that was really cool. I'd never had a woman that was excited to support one another in that guiding track. Like that was just a whole new world for me, and I was, yeah, very excited about it. And so I moved to Estes because I met my now husband. So he's a physical therapist here in town, and I met him. He's friends with a lot of guides in town, and so I was seeing him at the time and moved here, um, and then was getting ready for my advanced rock guide course in March of 2020, late March 2020, and then on March 17th we got a call that Callie was killed in an ice climbing accident in Valdez. So yeah. And then the course. So my course was supposed to start a week later, and it was this thing where I was immediately like a relationship where I was like, oh my gosh, Callie like really wanted me to do this course. She got me ready for this course. Like I got to do this course, but I was just like riddled with grief and fear and anger of climbing. And then the course got canceled.
Yeah, I was here in 2020,
yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. So it got canceled, which was such a relief for me. So 2020 was just like a lot of grieving. And then in June of 2020, I lost my friend Tom, who was my primary alpine climbing partner. He was a mentor and then also a partner. Like all of the big stuff I'd done in the alpine was with Tom. We climbed at the Tetons a lot together, and my first experiences like on the Diamond were with Tom, which is a really special place and a place that is nice to have a lot of mentorship on. There's unique tricks that make you succeed up there. So yeah, so he died in June of 2020, and I couldn't guide, like I could not even think about getting on a rope. I was having crazy like physiological symptoms where my feet, like my eyes would just completely get blurry and I couldn't like see my feet. um, and my heart would like pound like crazy, like really big fear responses whenever I would get on a rope after their incidents. And then, yeah, the Climbing Grief Fund is just the coolest organization. And at the time, they were coming out with 1,000 Ways to Kiss the Ground. I don't know if you've seen this.
1,000 ways to
Kiss the
kiss
ground.
Okay.
Yeah. Henna Taylor was the creator, I believe. Yeah, and it was a film, a documentary kind of. It was basically just interviews from all these professional climbers about their own grief experiences. And it helped me so much understand my own grief and how it relates to climbing. Like it just blew my mind. It was just so, yeah. There are so many little statements in there that helped me.
Is that online that we can find? Okay, maybe I'll ask
yeah,
for the link.
yes, totally. Yeah, at the time it was a paid thing to raise money for the Climbing Grief Fund. But I think it's free now, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's an amazing film, and it just sheds a lot of light on professional climbers, people who have been in this industry for a long time, and how they process losing friends. Um, yeah, so the money that was raised from that documentary went to grants for people to receive help who were struggling with grief and climbing. And I was one of those recipients, which was just incredible. And it's a really simple application if anyone is struggling with the grief and it impacting their climbing and lives. I remember I filled my application out a week after Tom died, and I was like, I need help, but it's COVID and I'm not working and I cannot, like, I don't have insurance, and there was no way I would be able to afford it on my own. And the application was, 2 paragraphs long, super simple to fill out. I think they like understand that it's hard to put words to grief. You can't make this like beautiful, eloquent essay when you're grieving, because that's not what grief looks like. It's messy. So yeah, very simple application. And then they were so responsive and said, we're getting money for you. We're doing a fundraiser. And then a month later, I was able to receive almost a year of counseling.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And that like it enabled me to go back to work. And, climbing I love climbing so much. It's what I've based my whole life around, and it's so special to me. And I lost that relationship when I was grieving. And so I was able to, get back on the rock, and my symptoms of, my physiological responses were going down a little bit. So that kind of trauma response was dulled with a lot of psychotherapy. So Yeah, that was really impactful experience.
So that organization, so they provide the funds. Did they also give you some resources who you can talk to and see?
Yeah, absolutely. They have a
Okay.
directory that I was able to find a counselor that understands climbing.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. And then so in that paragraph I saw online that um, you said that you went back to school, become a therapist yourself.
Yeah. So in the fall of 2021, yeah, I decided to go back to school. It was something I got my undergrad in psychology and was excited to do that field, but that work, the climbing grief fund, like I wanted to be a resource for others, like I was given resources for. So yeah, went back to school and then I'm finishing up in May, so I'm not yet graduated.
So wait, so finish on in May, mean the May 2024? I see.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm currently in my accruing hours phase, kind of like a residency. So I have to just see clients and build hours and yeah, I get supervision. Um, and so I started my own practice to do that.
I see. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So then you look at it. Would you do say once you get your is it certification or the full
Yeah,
status
it's
of being a therapist? I don't know the term.
there's a lot. There's a lot of times. Yeah, I'll pass my national
I see.
counselor exam and I can call myself maybe a certified psychotherapist, and then I have licensure hours um, until I'm a licensed professional counselor.
Okay, so is that your plan? Maybe like down the road that you would do, say half half or both at the same time, or what do you see in addition to your guiding career, or
Yeah,
could be potentially getting more than your guiding?
yeah, that is a question I've thought so much about
Oh,
recently
okay,
because I've been a therapist recently for the past since the beginning of August. I've transitioned into a full-time therapy role to accrue my hours. Um, and I miss guiding so much. And I still guide a decent amount. I still get out, 1 to 2 days a week with my return clients, and I love my return clients like so much, and have a really strong relationship with lots of awesome people. And so that's primarily what I'm doing right now is I just have my return client base, and that's kind of what I've been doing since for the whole year of 2023. Actually, is just working with people I've developed relationships with. Um, yeah, but I think I always need and want both. I love taking people outside. I love showing them like my favorite places of Rocky. Um, I love developing skills and getting people on their first multi-pitch climb. And I don't think those are ever going away. And a lot of my relationships now with clients is like getting them in the hot seat, and working through fear and insecurity, doubt, like the things that combine the two together so well that climbing inherently has mental health components to it. I kind of have been working as like more of a coach slash guide. So, like an example is one client this summer, she flew in and I had everything set up for a multi-day trip into the Alpine where we had multiple towers we were going to ascend, and she led every single pitch on all of the towers, which was just so cool. And I got to be able to provide that feedback and get her, alpine skills up to par. And then she also, was working with a lot of fear that we all do, and you know, not feeling like confident in herself. And we get to like work through those components of climbing as well. Um, so that's kind of what I'd like to do with both of them.
I see. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So, like your personal experience and your training on psychology, and then right now it's counseling training school. Probably make you adjust the approach when you are guiding, right? So I was wondering, like, usually how do you frame them? I think that you will have a little bit more structured way or organized way to help people dealing with fear because I don't have the type of professional training. So all I could do is using compassion, say. But then I'm just curious that, like, what's your approach?
That's a good question. I had received some training from the uh, Rock Warriors Way,
Okay.
Rock Warriors Way, and that has really helped me in like kind of take a more structured approach to fear. I think like understanding our nervous system and how fear works on like a neurological level can really help us understand um, how to help someone navigate it, right? So understanding our limbic system and our nervous system and how that reacts and yeah, those things can, it definitely informs my coaching style.
And what kind of the signs? I mean, because usually people don't voice. Sometimes like people don't voice their fear. So what kind of signs that you might see that you're just like, okay, I can give them a little nudge or coaching at a certain point, say.
Yeah. I'm sure you recognize it more. Like, you know, the client who won't lean back on their clove hitch. They say, "Oh, I'm good right here." And their fingers are clawed into the rock and they're pushing their hips in and they're like, "I'm fine, I'm good. I just need to stay right here." I'm sure
Yeah.
you've had that experience. That's like the nervous system being like, sympathetic nervous system engaged, fight or flight. I'm fighting for my life right now, even when they're like saying, "Oh, I'm fine. I just need to be right here and I'm okay." And that's where we can coach and be like, "Okay, let's take, a couple deep breaths if that feels good to them." Sometimes that can be even more like activating to the nervous system is like deep breathing. But orienting them to their surroundings, being like, "This is how a code works. Let's see if we can just wait at 10%. Okay, how does that? Let's just stay here for a little bit." Like even those small things that they're not like saying they're afraid, but their bodies are like saying it.
Yeah. So I kind of
Yeah.
remember episode 7. I interviewed Josie, and then she's working on the mindset coaching. Yeah, and then she did
Mm-hmm.
mention that um, if you are the fear would trigger some bio response, like your palms sweating or heart rate and all those things. And so she said they're trying to recognize those things, and then I forgot how she coached people, but I was wondering, is that like similar sounding to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Um, yeah, yeah, absolutely. So do you want
Yeah,
some
yeah,
like nervous system
yeah, yeah,
lessons?
yeah. Yes.
Okay, okay. Uh, do you know of polyvagal theory?
No.
It's a really cool
Okay.
theory.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a new understanding of our nervous system. And we have a vagus nerve that starts in our upper brain, like brain stem, and travels all the way through our whole body, like down to our fingers, into our digestive tract, all throughout our lungs and heart. It's a single nerve. And there's three components of this nerve, and that activates our autonomic nervous system. Um, and so we have our uh, ventral vagal nervous system, which is as like the oldest part, and it's our like shutdown
Okay.
like mode, like possum waiting for the falcon to leave the desert mode. Does that check
Yeah.
out? It's, and we see that in like our clients, right? Like the complete slow response time, fixed gaze, maybe glassy eyes. Like they are checked out. That's a fear response. That is a nervous system survival response. If I just completely step out, then I can be safe, right? Um, we have our ventral vagal nervous system, which is our kind of our social connection system, which is when we're engaged and we're making eye contact and we're light and we're feeling safe in our surroundings, like internal and external experiences, right? Our like senses are always taking in new information, and it has dubbed that this is a safe situation. Like this conversation feels really safe when we're in our ventral vagal. But I might be a little activated because I'm nervous to be on a podcast, and so that is our sympathetic nervous system, which is our third of the polyvagal, which is where we're like, that's our kind of classic fight or flight, where we're activated. We want to run, we want to fight, we want to claw into the wall to not lean onto our clove hitch. Um, so there's if that's our polyvagal, and there's a lot of different ways that our nervous system can protect us. So I can shut down, or I can get really engaged in a lot of different ways. And so I'm sure that's what Josie was saying. It's like, okay, what is the body language saying? And for all these different systems, we can do different things to help people come out of it, right? If someone's in their dorsal vagal nervous system, um, like doing activating things to bring them up, to get them back to our ventral vagal is helpful, right? So maybe some pressed breathing, or some weighting of the clove hitch, some more action stuff. But for our sympathetic nervous system, they're already in an action state. They're already ready to like run away. And so bring them more oriented, more grounding exercises, like noticing surroundings around us, bringing them back to their senses. So I'm sorry if that was a lot, but yeah, it just kind of shows that there's so many different methods we can use depending on their body language or what they're feeling.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think body language is the signs that we can see. We can't really read their minds. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And then this is a what if question. So, I mean, as a guy, I usually say prevention. So you start picking up early signs and then start to think about what you have to do. Have you ever encountered that some people just like, well, totally freeze there, and then by maybe like in an alpine climb, just like, no, we have to get out of here. Then so you don't have this ample time to help process their mental side of things. And do you
Yeah.
have that, or have you have those experience?
Oh, I don't know if I've had that
And maybe you
experience
just did a
like in
good
an
job
alpine.
that in the picking out early signs, so you deal with that already early on potential.
Yeah. Or choosing the right objective, right?
Right,
That's so
exactly.
important.
Yeah,
Okay, you're gonna freak out on this, or this feels like a way too big adventure, even if it feels like it's
right.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think that's happened to me. I guess like I don't know if you do this, but if someone gets like freaked out on the wall, like being able to meet them and like making eye contact and talking to them slowly, like that usually can like kind of bring people out pretty quick. Um, I don't know. I'm sure there's these extreme cases where that doesn't happen, but
Yeah, good. And then so how in general, so well, I mean, climbing certainly we all see a lot of sign of climbing is dangerous, and we manage risk. So, how do you help client and feel, or your student feel like they are in a safe learning environment?
ooh, I would love to know. I want to ask you the same question with your single pitch instructorship. Um, I think like ventral vagal, if we think about it, is like our connection state. Like that's where we're able to learn and feel safe, right? So that's like always my basis is making sure people feel like they're in a safe environment socially, right? Like social danger is just as real as anything else. Like fear of feeling accepted, or being judged, like those can really get in our way of learning. So that's, I think, just the foundation of just making sure people feel like they can make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and stay curious, and that yeah, they're not going to be judged. Yeah.
Certainly, yeah. And then you mentioned about SPI. I mean, congratulations, you joined the pool of SPI providers.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I haven't done one yet, but I'm really excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the same, forgot which email that Andrew sent out that I think now we have quite a few female providers.
Yeah, who is it? Because it's been low for a long
Yeah, I
time.
know that you and Haiti Woods, right? So both of you, so there's two. And then I know me, and then Elena is still teaching, Elena Rins. So then there are four. I know it's still not a whole lot, but I think there are
Oh,
probably some other ones out there. I think there's at least one East Coast, but since I don't go to East Coast that much, so I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think the new program is going to really help speed up the process. I know a couple women who are in the assistant providership role, but it's just been hard, like a track
So
apparently. Like I
did you
know
go through the new process?
we'll do a new
Yeah, I
process.
would love to learn a little bit because I went through the the version before you did, I think. So it took me quite a long time to become the provider. So how did it go? Like, so what's the format for the new way to become an SPI provider?
Yeah, you just pay a good chunk of money and you take a 5 day long course. Um, I'm believing that like Andrew is he's doing most of them, and then he has an assistant provider, which is very funny to say. He's providing providership. Uh, But yeah, so two instructors, 5 day course. Um, you know, you it's a little bit kind of like an AJ format where you do a lot of like instruction and learning the first 2 days, and then you're put into a hot seat into you're instructing how to instruct these SBI concepts and given a lot of feedback on it.
So is there an official exam portion within the five
Yeah,
days?
yeah. The way I understand it now is that I'm able to provide courses, and then I teach a couple of courses, and then I take an exam as to say so that I can take or provide exams. So I can't certify anyone right now. I
Oh,
can only provide
okay.
courses.
So,
Yeah.
so first you have the 5 day course, and so
Mhm.
it's kind of like maybe a route guide course, similar. So you learned, and then you have to teach or demonstrate your thing during the 5 days. But then after
Mhm.
that, you have to teach, co-teach. Do you?
Yeah, I can teach alone. So I do have like I'm listed as a provider, no like apprentice provider title or anything like that. But I cannot certify. So I can't facilitate exams until I take, I believe it's 2 or 3 days.
Oh,
I forget,
so there
2 or 3
is an
days.
exam portion.
There is an exam
But then
portion.
you do,
Yeah,
so you can't take the exam portion until you get more experience.
I believe it's 2 or 4
I
courses.
see.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So is that in your schedule now? Like,
Oh, yeah, I have a couple on the schedule. Um we actually were supposed to have one this weekend. It didn't get filled. So um it's tough with my licensure hours, just accruing hours with my therapy. A lot is going on right now, but I would love to travel. Like I would love to co-teach and do other things. But I do have courses on the schedule that if anyone's looking to take an SBI, come take it with me. So I can get my courses.
so when you co-teach, because in the past that we have this jargon, so, um, so I that this provider and then this provider trainer, do you have to co-teach with a provider trainer, or you just have to co-teach with any
Yeah,
provider?
I don't even have to co-teach at
Oh,
all.
okay.
Like I could teach my own 4 courses, just myself as a
Oh,
provider.
okay. So you can teach courses,
I
you
want,
just can't do exam.
yes,
Oh,
exactly.
okay, I
Yeah.
see.
I want to co-teach because I want to learn.
Right.
I'm sure it's such a nuanced thing. I'm sure your years of experience have taught you so much, and I'd love to learn more about that.
I would say
So,
that certainly I found that I probably you have the similar experiences like, well, you go to these courses, but not until you start guiding you will get better at guiding, right? So for
mhm.
me, it's like, okay, I got this courses, but not until I teach SPI, and then gradually I start to like collect clues and to get it to make it a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that can be challenging, right? You kind of have to learn like trial by fire, is that the thing? Or like kind of have to just get in the role and make the mistakes
And
and
I did have a
be able
lot
to
of
build it.
co-teaching because that was the requirement back then. Just like I got this 2 day training, but then I have to co-teach quite a few courses and exam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was the so-called assistant provider, become and then finally become the provider. Yeah. So when I was a
Yeah.
provider, I already co-taught quite a few.
No. Yeah. And I think that was a struggle for the new program development process. Like how, like, the co-teaching so many is a barrier because you have to find someone who's willing to let you be an assistant provider.
Yes.
This is just me hearing about it. I don't know if
it,
that's
it,
true to
it
you, but
was hard because you have to travel because not you sometimes you don't have options at your local crack, right? So you have to travel, and I also trying to find different person to co-teach so I can see different styles, but that's just my personal choice. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that, yeah, even though I don't have to co-teach, I think it would be so beneficial, at least for a couple.
Yeah, I just kind of nice to see what other people deliver this the so-called same material. I think it's beneficial. Yeah, but certainly
Yeah.
will cut in into your schedule, and then sometimes you don't get paid, and so then yada yada and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the new program allows for less barriers, more people to go into the provider role, which is, yeah, we need more women in this role. So that's nice that it's
Definitely.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you thought about doing some affinity programs? Because there's just not many female providers. I mean, that giving courses to like women only. Because I taught a few.
I would love to, and that's been the goal since the beginning, right? Like that's the dream. I feel slightly out of connection. Like I know if there's all these courses being run by like the North Face, and I'm sure have you run some courses that like Nemu and
Yeah, so
other
those
like
affinity-based programs, so AMGA work with sponsors, and then they do those courses. Yeah, so
and they do out. I'm sorry.
so the one that's for women's ones, I think the Brown Girls Climb and Flash Foxy and also Arterix together, they've been working with AMGA to provide women only SPI course and exam, and I work with some of them. Yeah,
Okay. I need to get kind of connected into that circle and just know like, hey, like I'm a provider now. I'd love to be considered for
right.
teaching your
Yeah,
courses.
so yeah, talk to AMGA. Maybe you ask Andrew, and then I think he can put it into contact with the right person. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that would be amazing. Start doing
right,
this.
definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. And then all right. So then, so you have to no, okay, you teach and then eventually get the exam and become a full.
Yeah, can do it all. Yeah, it's a weird. Yeah, yeah,
I know. I'm just learning. Sorry, I mean, when I know we talk a little bit too much about this, but I'm just learning the new process. So
totally.
in
Yeah,
the future, somebody asks me, I have something to
yeah,
tell them.
yeah.
Yeah, great, cool. So then, so how many days? I mean, I know that right now you're still going to school and then have to do your counseling practice. How many days do you got a year? You think estimation?
Oh, oh. Um, Last year I did around 80,
Okay.
and that was a full normal year, and I was going to school full time. Um, and so yeah, I would just work full time and I would travel. So I, go to Red Rocks in the spring and the fall. And I got, went to Mexico for January and
The Trail Chico, you mean?
uh, yep, yep. And then I go to Joshua Tree for March. And so I made the full rotation rock guide schedule. And that was about 80. This year it's probably a little bit less, just because I'm entering into this. But I mean, I still, yeah, maybe like, I don't have the numbers
Of
this year.
course.
Usually I'm better at numbers, but probably around 40
Oh, okay. Right.
or 50 to 80. Oh, I mean, I usually like from April to October, yeah, 5 days a week
Whoa,
in
five
the
days a
field.
week, that's a lot.
Yeah, in the summer it's like pretty go go go
Yeah,
here.
because that's the season, right?
Hmm.
In Colorado.
Yeah, and it starts early, and that's like I think that's why I love Colorado so much is because I can guide full year round. It feels like some of my best days in Eldo have been in December. Um, so not in Estes, but going down into Boulder, like there are some great days throughout the whole year. So I'll have like maybe one day, maybe 2 days from like January to March. But then once April hits, it's pretty full on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So right now you're in the practical phase about your therapy. Uh, so can you accept clients from your end, or they have to go through like another ways and then find you? How does that work?
oh, for
Yeah,
counseling,
for
sorry.
counseling.
Yeah, you can reach out via any method. I do have like because I'm not licensed yet, I do have like a billing supervisor and all the liability insurance and all those things. I do take most insurances as well. So I do have like a separate company that I go through for all that.
Okay, so they can,
Um,
if they need some help, they can contact you, and then you will help
Totally.
them to set whatever those things up, right? Because you are also under supervision. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
cool. And there's also two questions I usually ask all my guests. So the first thing is I want to look back. If I say that you can only pick one, that Like what will be your proudest moment?
Oh, that's a hard question. Oh, my proudest moment guiding.
Yeah, yeah. Or just, overall, it might just be combined guiding and personal climbing or something. Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, that's such a hard question. Like the second you say that, just all these memories flood into my brain,
Yeah,
you
because
know?
usually people have a hard time picking the one, and because there's just so
Yeah.
many moments, and we know that guiding we can have a lot of moments like those.
One that comes to mind is actually just recently this summer. A long time return. Oh gosh, there's two though.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh,
It's tell me too.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I had a good season this season. I just like all these return clients that I've had relationships with for a couple years now. One was the one where she did all the leading. And that was such a cool experience because, she has a full-time job and flies all the time. And I was able to just do all the work to, have a whole full backcountry trip planned, permits acquired, routes that she would really thrive on, all the beta down to a T to prep her for each pitch, and just got to see her like challenge herself like pitch after pitch, tower after tower. And it was amazing. Like I was just blown away that she would challenge herself like that, and that I got to support her in that way. Um, so that was just, yeah, really made me so proud to see her thrive like that. So that's a really good one. And then another client, I've been working with a couple years. He's been working towards the diamond on Long's Peak, which, do you know the diamond?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's been working towards it since 2003. Like his just since he heard about climbing, he's known about the diamond and has worked towards it. And we did it this year, and we did it in a 3-day ascent, and it was pushed him to his limit, and just celebrating with him on the summit was just the coolest feeling ever. And it was a cool feeling for me as well because that was a really big guiding objective for me to take on as well. So it was kind of like a culmination of both our efforts to be able to stand on the summit together. So,
Yeah, I I can totally relate. Yeah, I found that when I ask these questions, and then I can see this glow then in
mm,
people's face and eyes. Just wow, I help them, and then they have accomplished a lot. And I love long term return clients too because I feel like I am like part of their growth.
totally. Yeah, it's like a developing relationship, and
Exactly.
you can see, yeah, like you could have never done that 2 years ago, and you get to see their own efforts, and then you get to see how you can prop them up.
Definitely. And
You
then I
know?
found that that's become a better relationship because not just that it's not that we take them out, we help them and coach them. And then it actually means a lot more to us too.
Yes, totally. Yeah, it is. Yeah, not like dragging them up. Like they are really doing the work,
Mm-hmm.
and we just get to do everything you can to support them succeed.
Yeah.
That's such a cool
It
feeling.
is. It is such a cool
Yeah.
feeling, yeah, because we can from like we don't know anything from like we can now do things and we kind of want to pass the knowledge to people.
Yeah.
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 And how about another question? How about say if the listeners of this episode they can only take one thing away, then what would you wish they take away?
Oh no, that's a good question. Oh, oh, I think I've struggled the most in guiding with trying to fit into what I've seen looks like a guide.
Okay.
You know, like in Boulder, there's a certain look. You know, and if I wanted to be a guide, I had to look and act like that.
You mean
And
look by just like clothing, equipment, that kind of look, or look of this atmosphere or energy?
yeah, all of it, vibe, brand, way you rack your harness,
Way you
demeanor.
wrap your harness. Okay.
Like it's right? That's a thing. Like you see all these people that you look up to,
Right.
and okay, if I want to be a guide, then that's what a guide looks like, so I'll look like that. And that's really gotten me into like hard situations. It's like, oh, I can't look like that. That's not what I look like. And then, especially for women, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's so hard. And so I think, yeah, and then it leads to burnout, right? When you try to fit into someone else's box, like I think
Totally.
you just, yeah, you get burnt out. So I think maybe that's the one thing, is to create your own definition and feel good in that, and seek mentorship and advice in it, like get it crowdsource and have a good support system, but do it the way that you want to do it you
That's
know
great. I like it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I was just finished an SPI course exam. And, in SPI, we have to talk about professionalism. And then,
Mm-hmm.
so I also think about the look, say in quotes, and also the guy voice. And I was just like, you know what? The look, as long as you don't have, say, a sling that's like more than 10 years old. I mean, what's wrong with like how you rack your harness? Yeah, so everybody should develop their guy voice and look, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a hard conversation that I struggled with during like my 5-day course, is talking about professionalism and how do we navigate that conversation while also being inclusive
Yeah.
and open-minded
Mm-hmm.
and not rigid. Yeah, I think like taking pride in your work and, showing up ready to provide a good experience, like that will always lead you in a good spot,
Yeah.
even if you don't have a certain voice.
I mean, it definitely
you
is a
know,
hard topic. I mean, a lot of soft skill in the curriculum is like hard topics. And so I think for me, my approach is to facilitate the conversation, but not telling them what to do.
yeah, yeah, that's so important. And I'm curious, what do people say about the professionalism when you open that conversation, new instructors?
Mm, they usually bring out their, say, if they have already some experience, they bring out their experience and say that, okay, especially some of my participants coming from affinity communities. So then making people feel included, and then not understanding that everybody's learning is different. So then don't act like the way that could potentially feel they are inadequate. And then also feeling that this environment is safe for them to set out their own challenges, and then take away things that they choose to take away. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the common ones. And then usually I also will have a discussion talk about guide voice. Say that, okay, well, guide voice, everybody can have their own guide voice. And then the only thing I would ask is like, well, you can have any guide voice. Just I ask that if anything is safety related, then just leave no room for ambiguity, and all other things you are freestyling. So that kind of conversation usually is a pretty fun conversation, and I try to. So usually in the AMGA curriculum, you want to talk about professional the first day, but then I could just write when you start the course, and then I would say that, hey, look, this is a big topic. We will talk about it, but I actually put it a bit later. Say, I will teach, and then you can see how I teach. Maybe you can say that maybe I act professionally, not professionally in a way, and then later we can discuss about everything. Yeah, so they at least have a little example of like how I teach the course, so then we have more material to talk about.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
So that's my approach. And then obviously you will have your approach. Yeah. Just like you said that, you'll find your approach. There's not like a mold to fit. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, which is hard when you're new, right? You're like, oh,
Definitely.
I don't know what role is. I need to look at others and try theirs on for size. And that's where you find your own. It's like taking bits and
I
pieces.
know, and it's very hard to be new, right? So that's why all these SPI instructor students, they are new, right? They so I just like, you know, it's fine. You know, you are new. I just only request is, please don't kill anybody.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
if you don't kill anybody on your first day of work, okay, your job well done. And then we will add bells and whistles gradually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
There's a saying my dad always says. He says, landing the plane is a
Uh
success.
huh.
Being able to fly the plane again is a victory. Or something like, like if you land the plane, if you get everyone home, that you landed the plane,
Yeah.
you did a good
Uh
job.
huh.
Then you can go from there. If you can fly the plane again, if they want to come back and climb with you, or
Yeah,
like,
definitely. And I know you probably know this so well that when people feel more comfortable, they just perform,
totally.
right? I don't have to give them extra unnecessary pressure.
Yes, they have that all in themselves. It's already there.
Yes, right. So as a guy, our job to help them to shine with what they already have.
Yeah. And that, I don't know from your experience, but when I went through my own, like, rock guide programming, that was the hardest part, was being like, the not putting any more pressure on me than already was
It
there.
is.
That was what made me perform less at any time. It's just because of the pressure. Like, I can do better than this, or I'm just feeling nervous, or usually I don't do this. Why did I do this way? Or, you
Yeah.
know,
I mean, right? Just being new and being examined, you think people watch you all the time? It's like, that's like, you already give yourself a lot of pressure. Yeah.
I get nervous at belay tests in gyms still. It's like, I'm a certified rock. I don't need to, what's going on right now, So, very normal.
I actually failed the gym belay test once. It's fun.
Recently,
Recently,
or,
because,
oh
and I was just like,
no.
look, this is the video that Peso said that.
Yes.
And then, but whatever. Sylvie,
Yeah.
I wasn't embarrassed because I'm doing exactly what Peso recommend you to do. But
Per manufacturer's recommendation. Right.
yeah. Sorry, I guess I gotta be off topic. Yeah. Then and kind of like I'm curious. So you said that you have that on the spot doing into a rock guy program. Have you have any experience like just because you are a female that make you feel like you need to perform even better, or you feel like people are not like the environment is a little bit like not supportive?
Gosh, yeah. I feel like sometimes I climb for all of womankind. And then I realize that is ridiculous. Do you ever feel that way? I mean, just this like, I have to represent all of women in this one moment. That is way too much pressure. Like, why would you put yourself in that much pressure? Yeah. But you want to like, a lot of the times you're the only woman, or yeah, I mean, very few, and you want to like show up, right? Or I feel like you need to overcompensate. Yeah. I One thing, yeah, I was thinking about this recently. On my rock guide exam, I had an instructor that multiple women had told me was biased towards women and was harder on women. And how, like, that's a terrible reputation to have, first of all. Like, oh no. And how much like that gets into your own head. Um, I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry. But I just, yeah, those experiences with instructors being like, okay, how are they seeing me and how do I need to act? Like, I need to like show up twice as much to be able to be seen as equal.
Yes.
I totally have those experiences. Yeah. And then I've had the opposite. I don't know if you've ever had this where you are given more room, like, because like I remember on my rock guide course there were two other women in it, a group of like 12, and they put us all in the same group for optimal learning opportunities.
Okay.
um, and I hated this so much. Like, and the instructor who was ever with us that day was really nice and spoke softly and made sure that we felt really comfortable, and it drove me insane. No, I've had the opposite too, and that's almost as bad,
I
right? Like,
understand. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. But when you mentioned that I mean, it was a horrible reputation to have for that particular person. You know, sometimes I wonder, I wish that I gave people the impression that they can tell me anything if they think I suck.
Totally.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
don't want to have like some sort of random reputation that people can only talk behind my back.
Yeah. Uh, and that's, yeah, for instructors. And I think I brought that up because I saw that a woman was saying that she did not want to take a rock guide course unless she knew
The
who the
instructors are
instructors
okay.
were. Yeah. And that's why it's like, okay, I'm okay with not doing an affinity program, but I do need to know who the instructors are. And usually you don't figure that out until a month before your course. Um, yeah. So that's kind of like an interesting barrier that could go away with. And then one thing is just having a better communication with feedback.
Exactly.
If you have that, if you have that reputation, you should know.
Yeah.
And I want to get it on. No way.
Yeah, because I know that the SPI provider poor, then there's like people have all sorts of reputation too. I just like, oh, I tell them that if something you notice, tell me.
Yeah, totally. And that's an interesting thing with the guide program and the SBI program is with SBIs, you know who you're signing up
That's
with.
right.
Yeah. And then I'm sure there's certain circumstances that's not true, but with the rock or any guide program, it's not that way. I feel like it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I understand. So that, you don't have to treat us soft, cushy, especially, right? Uh, but then also, just treat us like a normal human being.
That'd be
That'd be
great.
great.
That's all I ask. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see.
That's like everyone, I don't know, those are the bookends,
Right.
right? Like with NAP, learning something new, you kind of swing both
Mm-hmm.
ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I guess
Definitely.
that's my attempt of empathy with that one.
Great.
It's
Yeah.
okay though. Yeah.
It was so fun chatting with you. So how do people find you? What's your social media presence?
So don't really have
Okay.
much of one. But I mean, I do have an Instagram, meg.yingling, just my name.
All right. So and like
Yeah.
any website, company you work for or the therapy program and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's, I have so many different emails. I think if you want to go climbing with me, or like any mentorship opportunities, and with KMAC guides. So if you look up Estes Park guiding, that's what you'll find pretty quickly. Um, yeah. And then for therapy, I would just reach out to my Instagram handle is probably the easiest way, and then you can connect via different
Great.
methods.
Yeah. Then I
Yeah.
would put all the things in the show notes so people can find you and everything.
Thank you. It was nice chatting with you.